7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 10, 9, 8.
All right, we are live. Happy Thursday, everybody. Got a special guest tonight. Paizley Allen is in the house. Hey, Paizley.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Uh-oh. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that's always the first question.
Oh, yeah. No, it's okay. Well, thanks for coming on. Guys, we got people filing in tonight. This is the Real Estate Exam Study Group, and you might recognize Paizley. She was interviewed. How many months it's been? 5 months?
No, I think it was more than that. Almost a year and a couple months, I think.
A year? It's been a year. Oh my
I think
gosh.
so.
I'm getting old, right? But Paizley is the education coordinator with Ashba Realty. So she teaches our exam prep class. So she teaches new agents how to strategize and take their exam and things to study to get ready. Paizley passed her test the first time. So she not only teaches it, but preaches it, but actually does it. So she's going to be on with us. Really, guys, we're going to be here on for an hour. We're going to talk about like best practices, tips, tricks. If you have any questions that you would like to ask about the test, what are some things that pop up? I'm going to ask Paizley to kind of give some good practices while we're here tonight. It's really just kind of an open Q&A. Now, to get it started, if you want to ask her a question, Paizley question, just put it in the comments. Your comment will pop up, and then she can ask that question directly. And we'll hit it as we'll address those questions as they come through. So if you have a question, just look in the just put it in the comment section. And we got people coming in. So Jamaica, how are you? Thanks for coming on. Robin, hello. So what further ado, Paizley, how are you? Did you have a good day today? It's sunny, huh?
Yes, it was sunny, so I will not complain. I am happy that we got a little sunshine. It's been raining and snowing and everything else in between. So
yeah, Paizley's a world traveler at Ashba Realty. She's always traveling around to different countries and things. So any plans, any trips coming up for you?
Yeah, in a few weeks, Miami.
Okay, well, must be nice. So you get no sympathy for anyone in this chat. So, well, it wasn't that long, ago when you took your exam. So I guess let's kind of start there. Is there, if you could say, hey, listen, we're at a cookout or a church or whatever, and someone said, what are some top 3 things, Paizley, like, I'm going through real estate school, maybe Hondros, maybe somewhere else, but what are some 3 tips maybe that you could give me before I start getting ready for the exam? Anything particular? And for everyone at home, we're winging it tonight. We didn't write anything down because we want to take this conversation wherever it lands. So if you have any questions, put it in the chat, and Paizley will answer them. So go ahead, dear. What are top 3?
Top 3 things, I would say definitely study. Set some time aside to actually study, like not just take the course and then at the end of it get ready to test. Like actually go back through the material and reread. It's just like reading any other book. You can kind of forget how it started. So that was my thing, just going back through and getting familiarized with some of the concepts again. So that end of course kind of review, number 1. Number 2, I would say mindset. Minimize your distractions as much as possible. I think for me, the biggest thing was making sure that I prepared my mind to test. So that was kind of like my only focus. So I was careful about the different things I consumed in terms of like, other topics and shows outside of everyday life. I just kind of tried to get my mind prepared for all real estate. So number 2, mindset.
Okay.
And then the third one is a timeline. Keep a timeline.
I like that one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to dive into those top 3 that you have, but we got a first question. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So, and we might need clarification on this one. So, Robin, you're up first. So, Robin Griffith, thanks for coming on tonight. And she asks, is that beyond the crammer? I think maybe the study. So, let's talk about for everyone at home, most of everyone on probably Hondros students, but the crammer she says as for studying. So, let's talk about study. So, Paisley, did you do the crammer? I can't remember. It's been a while.
I did, yes.
Okay.
So,
Can you explain to everybody what the crammer is? Some people get confused with that. What is the crammer, first and foremost?
So the crammer is basically just kind of like what I was talking about, that end of course review. Any material that you learn, especially in such a large volume that real estate is when you first go through, you always want to kind of do that end of course review to cover all the topics. So the crammer is basically like a mock test that you sit for, and it prepares you and kind of puts you in that mindset like, okay, how well you do on the crammer is, I think, an indicator of how well you're going to do on the actual test, real life test.
Can I ask you, Paisley? I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
Did you how well, like, you don't have to tell. There's a thing we don't talk about is people's score. So I'm not going to ask her that. I don't even know what she got. She passed it. But when you did the crammer, was your score lower or higher from the crammer to the actual test? Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say?
Yes. So it was definitely lower. I think for the crammer, which I don't really care about the numbers, honestly, I can be honest about that. But I think with the crammer, you want to get a 70, maybe, I think is what you need to say passing. And I believe I got a 69 when I did the crammer.
Okay. So you were pretty close. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, like, now if you took the crammer and you got a 69 on it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So again, just for clarification, the crammer at Hondros, for example, is just a mock test that you do after you take all your classes. So once all your classes are done, you go and sit down virtually via Zoom. Did you do your Zoom, right?
Yes, I
Paisley?
did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you take a mock test in the morning, and then the afternoon you grade it. And then I always say if you take your crammer and you're like 60, 65, which I know that's failing, and Paisley had a 69, but she still passed her exam, because when you go through the crammer, you're going to go over the answers and you're going to like correct your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Paisley? So,
yes.
So if you're testing in the 60s, I know some people say, well, I'm going to just keep studying more. I'm going to keep studying more. Don't keep studying more. Like, you're already really close. Go ahead and just sit for the exam. Would you agree with that, Paisley?
Yes.
If you were testing in the 50s, what do you think?
Definitely continue to study, because you're pretty close if you ask me, and that's why I said timeline is everything, because if you're already in the 50 range or low 60 range, and let's say you're like, oh man, that discouraged me, and you stop studying, then now you run the risk of putting yourself lower. I say build on that, keep building.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm going to try to remember your top 3, and let me make sure we had no more questions. So yeah, for everyone at home watching, if you have any questions, just put it in the comments section, and we'll answer them. So let's talk about timetable, because the metaphor that I always use for students is like, it's like this is like a marathon. And what frustrates me is people will like train for the marathon and run the marathon. They might actually take the test and but fail. So like it'd be like you running a marathon and you get to like mile, what is a marathon? 26.1, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll say that. I think it's that. or 26.3, but you get to like mile 21 and then like you stub your toe and you can't finish it. And then what people do is they'll say, I'm going to take a couple months off. Well, if you take a couple months off from your running regiment, then you could even probably run 12 miles now. And then you got to like build all the way back up to it. So just start studying again and then retake it. So I guess Paisley, for our exam prep class, if you're someone, we'll make two students here. If you're someone that's like Robin, she's in Hondros. So if you're, in Hondros taking your classes and you're doing it diligently, you're going through it nice steady pace. You get through all your classes. How many weeks do you recommend? It's fresh in their mind to study before the test. Does that make sense? Like a month, 3 months, 8 months, a week? What do you think?
So obviously it's dependent upon you, but realistically, I would say at least a couple of weeks, at least somewhere between 10 days to 2 weeks of consistent studying where you're, setting time aside and doing that every evening or daytime, whatever works for you.
And how many hours a day? Is it like 5 hours a day, 2
For
hours a day?
studying?
Yeah, just out of curiosity. I've heard a lot of stuff. I want to hear what your thoughts are.
No. So I'm actually not very good at studying. There's no possible way that I could ever sit for 5 hours and study something. Maybe later, I don't know, but I've not been able to do that. So I,
Me either.
yeah, no. But I did
Your
like focus
attention,
studying.
this is Paisley attention span like
Yeah,
this.
no. And
Yeah.
I like to learn, but no. I think it can become like counterproductive at that point, sitting and studying for that long. So I would do like 30 minutes in the evening, like before I went to bed. So that way I went to sleep
Okay.
with it on my mind and it was, fresh. And I was like, okay. And I didn't have
So
any other distractions. I was like winding down for the evening and consuming the material, if that makes sense.
okay. So you think at least 30 minutes to an hour at most
Absolutely.
for a couple weeks.
Yes, because
Yeah.
again, you've already learned the material, so now it's just getting back into that, like rememorizing it all over again, like the fresh concepts. So I would say don't do like 2 and 3 hours a night because you fill your brain up with so much, and you're not teaching yourself, you're just studying and going over combing the material a little bit. So I didn't feel like I needed that long. Someone else might. So don't let what I'm saying discourage you from doing it your way. But
Yeah. Well, I'm more like you. I mean, there was some studies done on retention and like just just your, what's the word? I'm trying to like just memory, like trying to stay engaged in what you're learning. And after about an hour, like it's kind of like this. And I think the key word was 40. It was like 45 minutes to take like a 20-minute break and then go back to it again and do it, but did it in those increments. And, back in the early 1800s when I was in college, I remember learning that. And that's how I studied. I'd study for a half hour, 45 minutes, and I would take a half-hour break, then do it again, and then again. And, that way everything stayed fresh. So, yeah, I agree with Paisley. Maybe 1 to 2 hours at most a night for a couple weeks at most, because you just can overstudy. You're just like overstudying. What happens, Paisley? Let's go with another option. And there's a lot of people that's going to watch tonight that I know they're guilty of this. What about those who are like, yeah, I took classes in April of 2023. I get my years mixed up, like in April, like 8 months, 9 months ago. And, I've been lazy and I want to start studying again and get back on the horse. What would you recommend for that? Because ultimately they don't remember what they studied last spring. Right. So what would you recommend then? How much should they study? How long, how many hours each night, etc.?
So really, the secret formula, my secret formula, because actually I did not do it like the conventional way. I didn't like when I was learning and going through the courses, I did it all online, and I had a lot of other things going on, just like most of us do. So when I finished one, like let's say principles and practice, like I didn't go to the next one right away. And so with that being the first thing I started, and then when I did make it to the end, it was like, okay, hey, there's been a gap here. So I need to go back and study that material. So I would say if you have taken a pause, you need that cycling of the questions to get it in your mind again. So if you don't have access to Hondros, or let's say you did not study at Hondros, you took it somewhere else, then I would recommend that you get the PSI practice testing software that they have. You can actually go to their website and sign up for the practice course, and it gives you access to log in and answer the questions in the different areas. That was something that I did because after I did the Crammer, and I actually was able to still access the Crammer and sign up for that. But like my CompuCram that they include in the Hondros package, I didn't have access to that after a while. So what I did was sign up with the PSI, and that was very, very helpful to me. And I feel like it was so close to the actual test, like that mindset and those subjects and concepts. So I would recommend getting something like that. And they do have like 300 or 500 questions like that. I would really recommend you getting some sort of software that cycles the questions and the concepts, so you get familiar with seeing them again.
Got it. Yeah. So at Hondros, you have 6 months to get through your material. You can do extensions. You got to call and ask. There is a fee for it. Might be worth it though. Better than
Yeah,
paying
you
for the
can
whole
do that
package again.
online.
Yeah. And then you, Paizley, PSI, who is the one that does the exam. They do the administration of the exam. They have exam practice exams.
Yes.
And Paizley, that's what Paizley used. What package did you get? What do you remember? Was it the 500 question one for like $50 or?
Yeah, and I want to say I paid less than that. I really feel like I paid somewhere between $29 and $39 for it. It
Okay,
was
they have
not
a
very
smaller one.
Yes,
And
I got the small.
you think that was better than Hondros's CompuCram?
I wouldn't say that it was better, but it was still equally helpful. Like if you don't have access to that, because not everyone goes to Hondros. I realize that now as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was helpful for me because it kept me in that testing mindset. Like it's a practice test, so you answer it, and if you know get it wrong, then hey, this is the area that you need to work on. So it reminded me of the Crammer as well. Like how you go through at the end and answer your questions. You're like, okay, let's say contracts or agency relationships, this is the area that I'm weak in, and it categorizes it that way in the PSI site.
Yeah, and one thing with PSI's practice test, it looks like on the screen, it looks like the actual exam, right? Paizley, do you remember? So it's kind of like, yeah. So it's kind of like a video game. Like if you're used to playing that video game, when it actually counts, you're like, yeah, I know how this video game works. Like you know where the buttons are, where to click, and how to like navigate it. So I know PSI, and I don't know if anyone's watching. There is like a smaller package. That may be the one you got. There's like a 800. There's an $80 one that has like 1,000 questions, I think, or 800 questions. There's a $50 one. That's the 500 for sure. That's like a real popular one. And then there's a smaller one. I would
think it's
I would
300.
recommend 300 questions.
Yeah, I want to say it's 300. I actually found the confirmation. It was $29.99 for
Okay.
what I got. And I feel like it wasn't overkill. The other ones they have is like like you said, 500 and 800. And I was like, that's just too many questions. I don't want that many.
Okay. So you recommend this, save some money and do the smaller one.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, that's good. That's a good one. Yeah. Not a lot of people get the smaller one. So I know you mentioned earlier Robin has a question. Let's answer this one and then I'll ask you something. Robin asks, how many questions are on the actual exam? You want to take
Ooh, I
it?
know this one.
Go ahead. Go ahead. It's all yours, Paizley. You're the star tonight. Go
You
ahead.
know what, and I was like, something told me to look it up. So I believe there's 40 on the state,
Uh-huh.
and
That's right.
there is 80 on the national.
Yep, that's 100%
Mhm.
right. That's right, Robin. So there's 2 sections of the test. You start with the national, then you take a break. If you want, you don't have to take a break. You can, you can just say, keep going, let's do the next one. You can get up and go to the bathroom if you want. Most people don't. Most people they sit and they just knock it out. You have 3 hours to take both. You have 2 hours for the national and then 1 hour for the state. And I guess I'll ask you, Paisley, do you think that's plenty of time? Do you think you have plenty of time to take the exam, or you felt rushed?
So I'm usually the kind of person that takes the entire time for the most part to test. Like if anything,
Mhm.
there's maybe 10 minutes left. So I feel like I really used pretty much all of my time. I actually had like the timer warning going off as I was going
Okay.
back through the questions.
Okay. Um, yeah, most people, very rarely somebody will say, I ran out of time. But I will tell you this, Robin, take your time. Like read the question at least twice. No, not some people say I've read the questions 4 or 5 times. Don't do that. That's way too much. You're overthinking it. You're going to get confused. But read it twice, right, Paisley? I mean,
Yes, agree.
yeah,
100% agree.
it's tricky. They're there to trick you. The exam is harder. And when I took it, it was easy. You can memorize stuff. You could if this was pre 2019, that's when they changed the exam. But you could memorize stuff and still get it right. We have a quick. Robin says yes. Finding this out on the module questions. Yeah, read it. Yeah,
Yes,
read it.
heavy on the
Super tricky.
reading.
Yeah.
Heavy on the reading.
And
Yeah.
and another tip, guys, and I'm going to go into mindset, but another tip on the actual exam is, and you can chime in here, Paisley, is that there's 4. It's all multiple choice. It's not essay or anything. It's all multiple choice. But there's always 2 answers that are usually way off. And then there's 2 of them that are really, really, really tricky. That it could be either way. So, for example, this is what I will tell students is that it's like if it's an exam on sports, and you'll have a question. A could be football, B could be basketball, C would be car, and D would be tree. So it's not a car or a tree. It's you can eliminate those, but it could be A or B. So be ready for that. It's tricky for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Any insight or anything else you want to add on that, Paisley, or is that
No,
pretty
that's
square?
good. 100,
Yeah.
100% agree. I actually forgot about that part. Definitely read it. I think sometimes we see a couple keywords in those questions and we think like, oh, I know this when I got it. It was similar to the last one, but then you see there's one little part at the end that makes it completely different. That might make or break you. So definitely read it twice, and 100%. There's usually 2 that are so far off that you can cancel those out. So now you got a 50% chance of, 50-50 getting it right. So
Yeah, that's what Robin said. Like sometimes it's just one word. So yeah,
yeah.
if you read the answer or the question, I'm sorry, like twice, like really read it slowly and read it a second time. You usually got a pretty good grasp. I'm a visual person, so I usually try to like envision it in my head because a lot of times it's scenarios like Paisley and Adam walked into a house and we looked around and I'm envisioning her and I doing that, and it kind of like like a storyboard or something. So, but yeah, definitely take your time with that. So, but if anyone has any questions that are watching, just put it in the chat. Paisley will be happy to answer them. So let me segue into, you said something like mindset. Like you got to get your
Mhm.
mind right. What do you mean by that? Like, what did you do to get your mind right? What does that mean?
So again, those practice tests were important for me because I think a lot of the anxiety that comes from taking these big tests are not really knowing what to expect or like not knowing what it looks like. And for me, like I could be doing something that I've never done before, but as long as I have some insight on into what's happening, then I'm like, all right, let's go. So that practice helped me to get my mind right. And then, like I said, being conscious of different things that I was consuming, whether it's media or other shows or books or different materials. I just kind of put a pause on that and focused simply on the real estate. And that was more for me to just keep my any nerves I had calm and know that I've done the proper studying. And you just want to be in a relaxed state. You don't want to go in there like super nervous and sweating almost, because then you forget what you know. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that was important.
So when you said like I didn't consume any stuff, like you mean the day of or the night before or the week before? What do you mean?
Uh, Most
Do you remember?
definitely the week before and the night
Okay.
before. Like I definitely was well rested the night before. Like I made sure I went to bed
Mhm.
at a good time because my
Yep.
test was really early in the morning and I had to travel a little bit for that. So I made sure I got rest, didn't really watch any,
Mhm.
I don't think I watched any TV, honestly, that evening. I also work. So once I got off work, it wasn't just me going home and sitting in front of the TV with snacks. Like it was like, I'm going to study a little bit and then, do whatever else is actually important and then go to bed.
Okay. Yeah, plenty of rests for
Mhm.
sure. Um, and I guess why did you schedule yours in the morning? Just out of curiosity.
Why
Why
did
not in
I?
the afternoon? Yeah, just out of curiosity. Do
So,
you remember?
yes, definitely because I feel like everything is fresh in the morning. Like even if
Me
you're
too.
kind of tired, like you get with it because there's so many things going on. But as the day like winds down, the afternoon comes, the sun's out, I'm like, I don't want to, it's lunchtime, I'm hungry, I don't want to go test. Like I want to be fresh and like early bird this thing. So that was my
Are you
mindset
a
with
morning person, Paisley? Like if we
not
call you,
really.
no, okay. Because
I
I was
think life
one
has
that
made me, but
you what?
I think that life has kind of made me a morning person, like being in the
Sure.
military, being forced to like get up at
Yeah.
4 a.m. when I didn't want to go for a run. Like, of course, I wanted to stay in bed, but there's
Sure.
always something to do. So I just kind of get up and go with it. I work out at 5 a.m., stuff like that. But if it
Mhm.
were up to me, I would probably like stay in bed and then wake up, go to brunch, and just
Yeah.
chill the day?
And Melissa's right. Well,
Yes.
you're a morning person. I get up early too, around 4:35 in the
Mhm.
morning. Not because I want to, it's just that's how it is. You have kids and stuff like that. So, I guess what I'm alluding to is if you're a morning person, which no one likes to be a morning person, but if you kind of are and you're in that routine, then take your test in the morning. If I know people that can't get out of bed before 11, then you better not schedule it for 8, 9 in the morning. I
Mhm.
think the first test slots 8 or 9. I can't remember. Maybe it depends on if it's a Saturday. Do you remember?
I
Is
want
it
to say it's
9?
8 o'clock.
8? Okay. I can't remember that. But don't schedule it at 8 if you can't get out of bed until 11, 1 o'clock every day, or maybe you're a third shifter or something. So take that in consideration. I would take it at 8 or 9 o'clock too, like Paisley, because I'm more of a morning person. I do like to lay in bed, of course, but I would do that because it's fresh, totally
Mhm.
fresh in your mind. So, and one thing too, you were talking about, tell us where you took your exam,
Oh, that's a
the
good one.
location.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you like
important.
it. Everyone has a lot of great things to say about where you went to.
Mm.
But tell us where you went. And then I guess my next question is, did you drive over there and check it out? the day before, or this was like your first time getting there?
So it was my first time going there. I
Okay.
actually, when I signed up for the test, there was a few different options because I'm more Dayton based.
Hmm.
So the options, there weren't really, I don't think there were any in Dayton. They had like Cincinnati, Hamilton, Columbus, and maybe like Troy or something like that. And there
Yeah.
was one that was kind of close, like the Troy, but the reviews, something told me to just like Google the place. I wanted to see exactly where it was,
Uh-huh.
and the
Uh-huh.
reviews were horrible.
I get that sometimes. Yeah. It's
I
real.
hate to say that, but that's just the truth is that they were horrible.
Yeah. So yeah, Paisley lives in Dayton, and yeah, so your two choices there. You have one in Hamilton, so south of Dayton, north Cincinnati, and that
Yeah.
one gets really good reviews. And there's one in Troy that's north of Dayton off 75,
Mhm.
and not so much. So Robin says, "Oh no, I'm close to Troy. Is that not good?" So
So
um,
definitely look
I
at the
don't know.
reviews. I would
Hmm.
say like whichever, like when you go to schedule your exam, whichever location pops up based on like the information you put in, just do a quick Google of the place and say, just so you can see like Google map it, and then the reviews will come up and just kind of read through the reviews and see, because people have commented and said what the testing environment is like. And that's important. You don't want a place that's chaotic or someone's
Hmm.
rude to you while you're checking in and now your energy is thrown off. I'm really big on energy. So I was like, I don't want someone
100%.
making me upset and then I forget the material. Like I wanted it to be good. And then the place that I actually chose is Hamilton. Let's see. Tri-State Professional is what it's called. Just name drop, but it's in an old hangar, which was good for me. That's how I'm used to testing. Again, that military, like that was
Mm,
something that I used to
good
do. So I
point.
was like, hey, this might be good for me. And it turned out really good.
Good. Um, yeah, good point. I think, Robin, if you live in Troy, I know Troy pretty well, the fairgrounds and stuff. But you know, it's just, I think the thing is, if you live there, then maybe just go, like, drive over there. Just go over there. I always tell people this, and because we're talking about like get your head right, or get psyched up or whatever it is for the test. Is if you live in Troy, probably go to the Troy one, but maybe go there a week before and just pop in. People do it all the time. I know they do because I tell people to do it. Just go to the testing center, pop in and be like, "Hey, how are you? I'm thinking, I got to take my test here in a week or so. So this is where I take it." And then, and just look around and get a feel for it. It might be fine. It's the same test no matter where you go. It's not like you get an easier test at one center or the other, but maybe do that. And one thing I think is true is Troy's not you got 75 there, but you're probably not getting on freeways. But you might not be fighting traffic like maybe going through Dayton all the way down to Hamilton. So um, probably take it there, but just go check it out. Just go scope it out. And that way, when you go to take your test that next time, you're like, "Oh, I know where I'm going. I've been there. I was there last week. I know where I'm going." So you don't have that anxiety of, "Oh my God, how far is it?" When you get on your Google Maps, like, "Oh my gosh, it's 25 minutes away, and I'm 30 minutes out, and oh my gosh, my test is starting," and you're sweating and freaked out. So just go check it out. I don't know. Paisley's not the first person that's told me that. I don't know. Who knows? And maybe there's some grumpy people that work there. Who knows? But it's the same test. But go check it out. They will not be mad. People do it all the time. So, um, what are anything other tips? Get your head right in the morning. Like, what do you mind us digging into your personal life? Like, so you wake up. What did you eat breakfast? Did you drink coffee? What did you do, or just do your normal routine in the morning? Is that what you
Yeah.
did, Paisley?
Yeah, just normal routine. I definitely had a little breakfast, maybe like a fruit or something light, but enough to, not have me hungry during the test. And because it is,
Mhm.
what, 3 hours long that you're in there. So I
Yeah.
did have breakfast and I got dressed and went down there. It was really early. The test started at 8 o'clock, and you have to be checked in before 8 o'clock. So I definitely had to. I think it was maybe like 40 minutes for me. So I got out of the house in enough time to get there and get checked in. So it was really perfect. Traffic wasn't too terrible. I didn't have any
Great.
hiccups or anything. So it's pretty smooth.
Yeah. Don't be late, guys. I think you got a 10-minute window, and after
Mhm.
that, fail. I've had
Yeah.
people that's done that. And bring your ID. Bring your. I've had someone that forgot their ID and they came back and they were late. They'll auto fail, and you got to pay again. There's no refunds. There's no. Oh, here's a rain check. We'll get you next time. It's fail. Here's your. No refunds. So yeah, just so I think those are all really good ones. So we talked about headspace, just getting ramped up. We talked about study timeline, a um, couple weeks. When do you recommend, Paisley? Because we always talk about the crammer, the Hondros crammer for everyone that's Hondros, to do the crammer. We talked about that earlier. When do you recommend someone taking the crammer from a timeline standpoint to when they're going to take their test? Should they take the crammer a month before their test, a week, a day, or three, or whatever? When do you recommend?
I
Does that make sense?
recommend, yes. So definitely within at least a couple of weeks. Like I want to say I took my crammer maybe on, like, let's say the 10th, and then maybe I was sitting for my actual test on the 18th. So
Okay.
like
In the week.
somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks you want to be ready to test. You don't want too much time to go by.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I always say, like, maybe like the crammer. The reason why I like that is it's kind of the glue. Like, it's like the practice before the big game, right? So
Hmm.
like you go in and you do the practice and you sit for 2 or 3 hours to take a test, and then you see how you're standing. If, like I said, if you're getting in the 60s, like, Paisley said, yeah, I think in the 60s you take. If you're in the 60s or higher, take your test. I know you failed it, but you're right there. Take your test. Um, but with that being said, like, um, like, don't take it the night before, because the crammer is exhausting. It is,
Hmm.
like,
It's a long day.
horrible. I don't. Yeah, I don't teach it. It's horrible. It's so long because you're going through every single answer and then
Hmm.
going over why it's right and wrong, and it's an exhausting day. So if you take the crammer, give yourself 2 or 3 days break until you sit for your exam, because you'll be burnt out. Not saying you can't do a little refresher, but it is, I always call it the glue. It's like the glue that pulls everything together, and get an idea. If you take that crammer and you're getting a 40 or 50 on it, you better cancel your exam, or don't schedule it. So,
Yeah, that's what I was going to add something too and say that
yeah.
I think that 1 to 2 weeks is for you if you know in your mind that you still need study time. But let's say you do really good on the crammer, you pass, you get 70, you understand everything, then go ahead and test as soon as possible after that, because you already know where you are. But if you feel like, hey, I still have some concepts I need to go over again, then give yourself another week to 2 weeks. So I just
Hmm.
wanted to change that
Yeah,
up.
yeah. No, that's a good one. And do you remember, when you scheduled your exam, like when you got your email saying, "All right, Paisley, you can take that test when you're ready." Do you remember looking at the calendar and say, "Oh my gosh, like I can take it tomorrow if I wanted to"? Do you remember what the lead time is? How far out they're booked, the testing centers. Do you remember?
So I think that it was pretty much right away. For me, it was more
Yeah.
so matching it up to my schedule.
Hmm.
So I had some time like in between. And actually, a little secret,
Oh.
when I signed up for the test the first time, I took the crammer
Hmm.
knowing my test date was happening soon. And when I got the 69 or whatever on the crammer, I was like, hey, I need to study more. So I ended up rescheduling my test
Okay.
before the
Hmm.
date came up. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give myself another week. And I did that because I was like, I know that I want to, study
Fresh.
some more concepts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess to piggyback off of Paisley, like you can, like usually, if I wanted to take a test, I could probably take one on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday's a busy day because a lot of people work and stuff, but 24, 48 hours, that's all they're out. I mean, you could, now if you want to do it at 9 a.m. specifically, then you
Mm-hmm.
might not do it tomorrow. But I mean, it's not like it's a week out or 3 weeks or anything.
Yeah.
So, don't worry about that. There's plenty of slots for you to take the exam. So just wait, take your crammer, see how you do, 60 or more, take that test. So
And I think it varies with location, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was another thing that made me choose the place that I ended up going, because not only did I do a little research on the other place, the time frames did not match with my schedule. And I was like, I know I really can only take it on this day during the week. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because time commitments and things. So
Yeah. And the hours kind of vary, because I want to say like certain days the test, it was like available or something, then another day it wasn't. So
yep, yeah, that's yeah. It's pretty easy, flexible, plenty of time slots.
yep.
That's not going to be a barrier for sure, for sure. And now they've changed some things up. I'll throw this tidbit out, and then we'll wrap it up. If anyone has any questions, is the division usually would take about 2 weeks to process your background checks, right? About a year and a half ago, like last summer of 2022, it was like 4 to 6 weeks, which means you could pass all your stuff, submit for your test, and you'd be sitting for a month or 6 weeks. It was bad. They changed it. They changed it up recently, and I don't know if this was like something for them in 2024, but students and agents, they submit for their test, they're getting emails the next day. And I was like, no, you haven't even taken your fingerprints yet. And they're like, well, I got this email. Look at it. I can schedule my test. What they're doing, which I don't know if this is good or bad, they're giving people access to schedule for the exam before they run your background. And they're giving, if you pass and they haven't even done your background check yet, they're giving you like a preliminary license, which I guess if you don't have any criminal record, you should be automatically approved anyhow. But if some people do, make sure you disclose that. But I was kind of surprised, like they're making it super fast. Like literally, people are getting their okay to test within 24 to 48 hours of submitting their application, and they haven't even done the fingerprints. But they're calling it, like, there's a name for it, like preliminary license or something like that, meaning like they'll give it to you, but it's still subjective to if you pass these background check down the road. So I don't know, something changed like the last 2 weeks. So this is probably something that they're issuing this year and seeing how it goes. I don't know what the point was. So, but well, Paisley, any other tips or tricks before we get off here tonight? If anyone has any last second questions, now's your time to jump on it. If not, we're going to let her go and get back to her normal life, non YouTube, Facebook, Instagram life. But any other tips or anything before we get off? And last chance, guys, ask her Paisley any questions.
I think that really covers it. Obviously, there's, case by case basis, especially when I'm teaching others. I kind of just, discuss how they feel about it to begin with. But the top things that we talked about definitely are the most important. Kind of be easy about it. Don't overstress yourself. Just know that you've learned the material. All you have to do now is apply what you've learned. So,
yep, very good. So, Paisley, thank you so much for coming tonight, spending your Thursday evening with us. And Paisley does an excellent job. If you want to get all the insight and training to help pass your exam, or I got to go this way. She's the woman. So, but if you have any questions for her or me, just put it in the comments below. We'll keep an eye on it. on YouTube, Facebook, or the study group as well. So other than that, guys, thanks again, Paizley, for coming on. I'll talk to you real soon. And good night, everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night.